All right, everybody. I promise we'll get to Kingdom Hearts someday.
Some year, whenever Kingdom Hearts 4 comes out, so never.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
as we did our first impressions, now we have to do a full review. Now today we're going to be talking about Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion.
Woo, boy.
Alex has no experience with the original. My experience with the original is very limited, so we're not going to really be comparing it to the PSP game.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to mainly talk about this on its own merits. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, we both. Well, you played the PSP version a little bit, but I have not played it at all.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get very far in it. I did finish this one though, so.
Fucking fantastic game. First off.
Oh yeah.
Like the gameplay seems to be somewhat similar to Remake in the form of like how it's presented.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit further on. So Crisis Core, for those of you who don't know, is the prequel to Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, and at this point, if you're gonna play Final Fantasy VII Remake, play this first now. I'd say anyway, so you have more context for part one.
No, I don't agree with that.
No?
And I'll tell you why when we get to the end. Crisis Core is the story of Zack Fair, who, if you played the original Final Fantasy VII, you know who that is.
I did not play the original Final Fantasy VII.
So Zack Fair was at the beginning of the game. He is a soldier second class.
I thought he was first.
He doesn't become first till later.
Oh, no. Okay.
And he's training under a guy named Angeal, who has the Buster Sword.
I wonder where he gets it from.
We'll get there. So Cloud, wow, fuck. So Zack really wants to be a soldier first class because he wants to be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to do some infiltration into Wutai and stuff like that.
And that's where it's set up with missions that you can do for the Shinra Company.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty easy to start off with, but it's basically the only way you're going to be able to grind for levels unless you figure out how to manipulate the DMW.
We'll talk more about that later. Someone who Zack really looks up to is Sephiroth, who is like, the fact that I'm saying looks up to Sephiroth is very strange, but
yeah,
he's like the main guy. He's like the number one soldier. He's like the strongest guy, and Zack really wants to be like him. We'll get there.
Yeah, and there's a guy named Genesis that also accompanies Angeal and Sephiroth as well.
Yeah, like Genesis clones start attacking you, and Angeal's just nowhere to be found, right? So,
well, this was after Genesis was like taken care of, right? Originally.
Yep. We'll come back to that. We're gonna full circle everything. So, Zack goes to where Angeal lives. Forgot what the place is called. Meets Angeal's mother, and I think he goes there with Song, who's the leader of the Turks. If I remember correctly, he goes with Song.
Possibly, yeah.
And
it's fresh in my mind, but at the same time, I feel like I'm missing a lot of details.
Meets Angeal's mom, and then Angeal's mom is seen dead, and you just assume Angeal killed her because Angeal has like a wing.
Mm-hmm.
Because him and Genesis were experimented on by a scientist named Hollander, who is annoying as fuck.
He's annoying in terms to catch.
Yeah.
It's so stupid how he like doesn't get caught too.
So you find out Genesis is also part of that experiment. Him and Angeal Their bodies are like degrading or something.
Yeah, because they were early experiments that they didn't have any way to sustain itself.
As time goes on, Zack meets up with Aerith, who becomes his girlfriend. Meets
Basically,
Cloud.
is, yeah.
Meets Cloud, who is like his little apprentice, and unfortunately has to kill Angeal.
Yeah, and Geo kind of forces it upon him.
But when Angeal dies, he passes on the Buster Sword.
Yes, sir.
Then a couple years pass. I think two, maybe 3 years pass, and Zack is like a full-grown soldier. He's like his hair gets longer. He has the Buster Sword. He's a freaking. He has a patrol. He has a troop. He's like the guy.
Yeah. He really is. I enjoy Zack as a character quite a lot.
He has a full-blown relationship with Aerith. And he's
Yeah.
basically Shinra's top guy. When there's something that nobody else can handle, Zack, go do it.
Yeah. That's
So
how
after chasing down Hollander again, you and Sephiroth go to Nibelheim. If you guys have played Final Fantasy VII, you know where this is going.
Even if you played a little bit of Remake Part 1, I mean, you kind of get an idea.
So Sephiroth, as you guys should know, goes nuts.
They don't show him going nuts in this game, but it's implied.
You'll get more context on this if you played the original Final Fantasy VII, or if you wait for the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We'll talk about that later.
Which probably would be a more effective way to honestly get Sephiroth's personality across.
Zack tries to fight Sephiroth, and he can't beat him.
We get One Winged Angel, too.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic rendition of the song, but Zack just can't beat Sephiroth. He cannot do it. But Cloud does. Okay.
Sort of. He just stabs him through the chest and then just tosses him overboard.
It's funny because he stabs Sephiroth with the Buster Sword. Sephiroth stabs him, and then Cloud just tanks and throws him off a bridge.
Yeah, because these two were experimented on, Zack and Cloud.
Not
so
yet. They haven't been. That
Really?
happens after this.
Uh-huh.
They both took so much damage from the fight with Sephiroth, Shinra captures them.
I thought it was Dr. Hojo.
It was, but Dr. Hojo works for Shinra.
Oh.
So they're experimenting on them. Zack, because he's a soldier, is able to take it. Cloud is fucked.
He's a weak little boy.
He's got Mako poisoning. And Zack really wants to help him.
Understandably.
But he's been out of commission for 4 years, so he hasn't seen Aerith. He hasn't seen Song. He hasn't seen anybody.
Yeah.
And
he tries to do a story that pisses me off, but we'll get to it.
Shinra is after him now. Shinra is after him and Cloud. And he wants to go see his parents, ends up finding Hollander, kills him. Then, like, the director of Soldier Lazard became an Angeal clone? I never understood that, but it happened. And Angeal turned into like a dog thing who was protecting Aerith and Cloud.
Yep.
But they both urge Zack to save Genesis. Don't kill him, try to save him.
Don't know why, but...
Because Angeal wants him. Angeal wanted him to, because Angeal, still deep down, was still a good person.
Yeah.
So Zack finds Genesis and tries to talk to him, but Genesis is like, no, fuck you. And in a really easy boss fight, Zack defeats Genesis.
Yeah, and it's just left to him carrying his body out and just like setting it down.
But Zack doesn't kill Genesis. He does spare him. He defeats Genesis. And Genesis, I think at that point, calms down because he's not really a bad guy anymore after that.
And I
But
think he just finally got the point. I think, like, yeah, things aren't going to go the way I want them to.
So now Zach's like, I'm gonna go see Aerith. I'm gonna go get my life back. Until he gets cornered by Shinra.
And here's the part that pisses me off. That
So
girl,
Zach,
that girl he knows, I forget her name because she uses a fake name.
I forgot her name.
She says she's off to go save Zach, or it's up to these guys to save Zach, but they don't.
I don't think
Like,
there's much they were going to be able to do.
Yeah, it's just I hate that they're like, your mission is to save Zach, and they don't.
Zach hides Cloud away, hides him away, and fights off as many of these guys as he can, so Cloud can live.
Zach almost lived.
This part broke me. Zach gave up his entire life so Cloud could live. Zach dies.
Yep. And it's like, oh, shit.
Cloud finally gets over his Mako poisoning just quick enough to see Zach's dying breath. Zach gives Cloud the Buster Sword, asks him to carry on his legacy.
He takes that a little too literally.
Well, we'll talk more about that when we get to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't played it yet.
And it's so far away.
Cloud, at the end, Zach gets sucked into the life stream with Angeal and asks if he became a hero, and that's how the game ends.
Yep. And Cloud is just walking towards Midgar.
There's a post-credit scene that recreates the opening of Final Fantasy VII, and Cloud's like, I'm Cloud Strife, Soldier First Class. And it says to be continued in Final Fantasy VII, so this leads directly into Final Fantasy VII.
Now,
and the remake.
Was this cutscene just a remade cutscene, or was it like pulled from remake?
The Aerith part was pulled from remake. The Cloud part was from the original Crisis Core.
Oh. Wonder why they redid the Aerith part, or just pulled the Aerith part over.
I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. But
Probably because what they used at the time didn't look very good compared to now.
Whereas the Cloud part, you couldn't really use the 7 remake because it wouldn't flow into the story as well. So.
No.
Character-wise,
that's the only problem I have with some of the cutscenes in this game is that they're pre-rendered video files, so you really can't do much to make them look any better.
If we're talking about characters, though, I love Zach. I think Zach's a freaking badass.
Yeah, he's such a badass. Makes me wish he didn't die, but well, that's what remake is giving us that the many people that wish that Zach did live.
We'll talk more about that when we review Final Fantasy VII Remake. But usually characters that are so good aren't really that interesting. Zach is, though.
Oh, the other character.
So, like, for example, usually if a character is like super good, like has no flaws, they're not that interesting.
But this
That's
guy,
why, like, with Mortal Kombat, I'll take Scorpion over Sub-Zero because there's a little more edge to him. Zach, though, he's just holy crap.
They wrote him very well to be the hero, but not like your typical like shonen anime hero.
Yeah.
Because those can get kind of annoying after a while. Looking at you, Goku. But yeah. He has the right balance of actual personality with like as an actual person versus being the hero. That's why I think makes him really that good. Is that he's not just for justice and good. It's more like he questions shit and has to do the right thing in it.
But I'm going to throw this out there. I think part of what makes Zach so cool for me was his hero sacrifice.
Yeah.
So bringing him back, spoiler alert for remake, might take away from his character, but I can't confirm that until Rebirth comes out.
Yeah, because we don't know what they're gonna do with him.
We'll have to wait and see, but Genesis, I'm gonna be honest, doesn't have the presence that Sephiroth did in Final Fantasy
I
VII.
mean, like, obviously he's there more often than Sephiroth and the other guys, but
like he's not as intimidating or as like, oh fuck, I'm about to die like Sephiroth is. You know what I mean?
yeah, his design is just plain enough to where you're like, oh, he's bad guy. Ooh, Sephiroth, you look at that motherfucker and he's like, oh god, that looks like Satan.
Like Sephiroth, when he's there, you're like, okay, someone's gonna die. Genesis, you're like, he's gonna tell a poem.
And he's gonna tell you, he's gonna tell about the love thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's neat. But well, it's also interesting that at the very end of the game, the final act or verse is revealed. I don't remember how it's revealed though.
Like his design isn't bad or anything, but he's not that threat. He's not as intimidating of a villain as Sephiroth. Is the point I'm trying to get across here?
Yeah, no, he's not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I really think about that guy, other than he's just okay.
I like Angeal. Angeal was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, he was awesome. He's like, his design reminded me of Gladio a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I was like, oh shit, that guy looks familiar.
Cloud. I want to spend some time on Cloud because Cloud is not the Cloud you know.
Yeah, no, he's very different. Very different.
Cloud in this game is very vanilla.
Not a lot of personality to him yet, at least not for quite a while anymore.
Like his whole, he looks up to Zack heavily.
That's true.
He still got that super young boy persona in him, and how do I put this? He's not the Cloud he's supposed to be. Granted, he doesn't become the Cloud he's supposed to be.
Last guy.
Like, he doesn't become the Cloud you know until Zack dies right in front of him. So, really, this is who he really is. And the character you know in Final Fantasy VII have it because of Zack. So,
yeah, we can't say why he is the way he is yet.
Aerith is the same as always. Aerith is like literally the most precious character in gaming history. I don't care what anyone says.
No, she is. She is.
But the character, really, the story lives and dies on
She's
Zack.
the dream girlfriend that many people want. Let's be honest.
The story lives and dies on Zack, quite literally. And I think if you just take this as if the best way to experience the story is a personal tale about Zack, I think that's the most fulfilling angle to look at the game at. Is it's Zack's story.
I just wish.
Don't look at it so much as a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. Look at it as a story about a guy who lost his mentor and is mentoring somebody else and is trying to get his life together. I think that's the most fulfilling angle of this game, is Zack's story.
Yeah, and getting a little bit of Sephiroth in there too.
Yeah.
I really wish I didn't know that Zack died at the end originally when playing this, because that would have hit even harder.
Boy, oh boy, the price of freedom is steep.
Jesus Christ. Fuck you. I hate that line now.
Let's talk about the graphics. We spent enough time on the plot.
Yeah, so they have definitely been upgraded since the PSP game, like different character model for Zack, and I think a few other people too, to be more in line with their remake counterparts.
It is a major upgrade on the PSP version.
Yeah, I think the PSP version ran at like 30 FPS, and it was also missing, not missing per se, they didn't have voice acting for certain cutscenes, so they added it in as well. I was like, that's cool. Like side missions, for example, whenever you have to find the treasure from Yuffie, she and him actually talk. It's weird.
If this game does not look as good as Final Fantasy VII Remake did, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. It just doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It looks good, but not for that.
No, but because this is a full remake, it's more of a remaster. So
yeah, if they remade it, they probably would have shown the thing where Zack lived. But no, we got to show the original story.
Think of this game along the lines of the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy.
Yeah,
not
as graphically impressive.
Not just a remake, not just a remaster. It's kind of a mix of the two.
Yeah, it's the same game at heart. It just looks a fuck ton prettier. This is what they did.
Yeah, same with Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, except Crash was a little bit more impressive than this game, to be honest.
Graphically, yes, but I like the gameplay of this more than Crash.
Oh, of course. Apparently, they did tweak the gameplay a bit to be more familiar, like similar to remakes style.
They did. Because you have a lot, mostly because you have more buttons to work with now. To clarify, I played this on the PlayStation 5, so
same.
There are a couple things though about the game I don't particularly like, and that's mainly because it was structured to be a PlayStation Portable game. Be honest with you, I don't like the missions all that much.
I like them. I like going through them just for fun. I don't know. I like grinding like that.
There came a point where I just stopped doing them because I didn't care anymore.
Yeah, unless you want to get that 100% completion trophy. I mean, there really is no big reason to do it other than
because all of them are the same. You go to a contained area, you find some treasures, you go find an enemy, and you kill it. That's every single one of them.
Yeah, and there's one mission in particular, an SOS mission, where if you fight these type of enemies over and over and over, which is really easy to do, you'll eventually force the DMW to level you up because you have so much access experience. It's like we got to dump a level on them. And that's how you get from level like 20 something to fucking 70 within like an hour or two.
Speaking of that, if you don't do the missions, if you just do the story, the game's actually not hard, like at all.
Yeah, so if you do what I did and get to level 70 and then beat the rest of the game, like I was already like at chapter 8 or so, maybe 7, you will destroy absolutely everything in one shot. It's ridiculous.
I finished the game at level 34, and I really didn't have much trouble.
Like I didn't even get to hear Sephiroth's One-Wing Angel that long. That's how fast I beat him.
Like the final boss, Genesis, I destroyed him. Absolutely mud stomped him.
I think it took like 5 or 6 hits for me with the Faraga, Hell Faraga.
I used a Dark Blizzaga, and he just died. Like boom, boom, boom. It just destroyed him. So
it's like he just couldn't handle it.
And then his normal form, which is the actual final boss, was a joke.
It really was. Especially, it's always a joke for me because, again, I am so leveled up. It's like,
Like, if you want a more challenging game, 7 Remake is a lot harder than Crisis Core.
Yeah, I had a hard time with Remake. Like, once I got towards the end of Remake, I was able to actually do pretty damn well. But that game has a slightly steeper learning curve than Crisis Core does.
Well, part of the thing is, if you do materia fusion and you start making like Dark Blizzaga, Hell Blizzaga, and stuff like that, those magics destroy everything.
Yeah, don't forget to add the extra, like you can add an item to it too that will like increase its HP, MP, attack, whatever. I had shit like 180% HP and some other HP buff. I had 30,000 HP by the end of the game. Nothing was going to stop me.
And the thing is, the DMW too, it's so in your favor.
Unless you're trying to level up, then the game's just like, fuck you.
Like, there are a lot of times where you have infinite magic, you have infinite AP, you have a guard up, you have this, you have that. Oh, here's a limit break. Go kill somebody.
Yeah, it kind of spices up the gameplay, in my opinion.
But it's so in your favor.
It really is.
Like, except
for the final battle.
We'll get to that. Like, part of the reason I killed Genesis so hard Because I got a level 5 limit break during it, and I just obliterated him with it.
Yeah, it's. I always skip the animations after the first time, to be honest with you.
I did too.
Yeah, I mean, they're cool the first time, but then it's like, okay, all right, I get it. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. The way limit breaks work is that Snack will meet a character, and then he gets a limit break based on that character.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's one for Sephiroth, Angeal, Aerith,
Genesis,
Cisne, that's her
name.
Cloud,
Chocobo,
Ifrit, Bahamut,
the other Bahamut as well.
Phoenix,
Fury Bahamut.
Phoenix, and there's some summons.
Yeah, you got Moogles for leveling up your stuff to max if you are lucky. Or you get Chocobos, you could get Cactuar if you do a certain side mission. I don't know what that would do, so maybe on a New Game Plus playthrough someday. I don't know.
That's the wrong day.
This game has a New Game Plus, and you're gonna destroy everything.
Yeah,
because it keeps everything, dude.
Yeah, you're just gonna. This game's not a challenge unless I think there's a behemoth super boss you can fight.
Probably, yeah. That would not surprise me one bit.
I saw him sitting behind a cage. I didn't try fighting. Yeah, nope. I just did.
Yeah, there was one behemoth I had to fight in one of the beach missions. I'm sure you did one of those. And you fight a behemoth on the beach, and it keeps constantly restoring its health by 7,000 HP. So you just got to keep spamming the shit out of your magic and try to kill it before it keeps healing itself up. It sucks.
Well, that seems rude.
But I did it, and I felt like a boss. I didn't get the item that lets you go beyond 9,999 attack, so that probably would have helped. But no. Not smart enough.
Break the game even harder, why don't you?
Yeah, I could just go through this again on hard mode, honestly. I actually might do that because the game was so easy. I'm sure that now that it's on hard mode and I have a high level, it'll at least be a little more balanced.
Yeah, it might be.
I hope. I like that it was pretty easy because sometimes I don't really want something that's stupidly hard.
I don't need to play Dark Souls all the time.
You mean Elden Ring?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
The soundtrack is fantastic because it's Final Fantasy. Like, come on.
I know they added a few new tracks into the game, but I don't know what they are.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I looked up differences and stuff at one point, but it was so brief that I looked at it. I'd have to look at it again. But again, I'm trying to imagine playing this on a PSP. Considering how fast the game is on the consoles, I'm wondering how the hell did this work on PSP?
It's a lot slower.
Really?
A lot slower.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. That must be boring, though.
I mean, at the time, I'm sure it was good, but now that this exists.
Could you imagine trying to do all the missions and shit with that slow style gameplay?
I can't, but
I can't. It would be too boring.
At this point, there probably isn't really a reason to own the PSP version.
No, honestly, no.
This game is on. This game is on every console: on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series X, Switch. There is no reason to get the PSP version.
No, there isn't. And remember, if there's ever a PSP remaster, it's always better to get the console remaster, like Birth by Sleep, because Jesus Christ, playing that on the actual hardware was a bitch and a half. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Have you ever played Birth by Sleep on the original hardware?
No.
You were lucky. Because I don't know if it works the same way in Crisis Core, but obviously the camera would be turned with L and R, right?
Yep.
But to lock onto enemies, at least in Birth by Sleep, you would have to use L and R together. So that's a little weird. And then, like,
That
to
sounds
unlock,
awful.
yeah, and then you can switch targets with L and R. You can't move the camera anymore. Then, if you want to unlock, you have to hit the trigger buttons at the same time. It's so fucking, like, no. Like, I commend them for Square Enix for making these kind of games on PSP, but that honestly kind of held back some of it. Like, I don't know. Well, then again, Birth by Sleep was conceptualized as a PS2 game, but then they're like, nah, let's put it on PSP.
Well, they were wrong.
Which is why I think Crisis Core would have worked a lot better as a console game originally than a PSP game.
Well,
in terms of level design, limitations of set combat system would have been a lot less hindered by the hardware and control scheme.
well, good thing it is a console game now.
Yeah, I mean, it's still in its heart a PSP game. You can tell by level designs and all that, but it's still great. It's still a great game.
Only took 15 years to get here, but
hey, man, it's better. Sometimes it's better to wait.
yeah.
I mean, could you imagine Final Fantasy VII being remade on like the PS3, like we thought they were gonna do?
No, I'm
How much
glad it
different
got
it'd be?
remade. I'm glad they waited till the end of the PS4 life cycle because it's one of the best looking games on the PS4, and it's already one of the best looking games on the PS5. So
Yeah, again, I can't imagine what this game would have been like if 7 remake if they started doing the remakes on PS3. Like, it would have been like 6 parts probably.
yeah, let's not think about the what could have been. Let's just worry about what is now. So Reunion is technically part of the remake project. So it's technically chapter 0 of a 3-part chapter of a 3-part saga. So
Except in this, we get the original ending. We don't get to see the alternate ending from 7 remake.
well, because this has to lead directly into Final Fantasy VII, so the ending couldn't actually be changed.
I could get if they added an alternate scenario after you beat the game of what 7 remake will do, and they gave you more context.
I'm honestly not shocked they didn't. One thing I want to circle back to is at the beginning of the video, Alex made a statement that you should play this before 7 remake. I don't think so.
I mean, it helps contextualize some things in FF7.
I think if you play this first, you're going to learn too much about Cloud.
Oh.
So if you play this after remake, you're going to be like, oh, that's why that happened. Whereas if you play Crisis Core first, there's no mystery.
Okay, fair. Yeah, that makes more sense because when I figured all this out after playing 7 Part 1, I was like, oh my god, I wish I knew this before. But looking at it now, it's like, so that explains everything.
Sometimes seeing a story in a linear progression isn't the best way to go about it. Sometimes you need to get the prequel after.
Yeah, I won't deny that. There are games out there that do that pretty damn well. I can't name any off the top of my head, mind you, but
I got a few, like Dead Space Extraction.
Isn't that a Wii game?
It's a prequel to the original Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
It gives away a major plot point of the original game.
Oh.
So if you play that before Dead Space, Isaac's story is basically screwed because you know
it. Whoops.
So yeah, there are times where you should not play the prequel first.
Fair enough.
And I think this is one of those cases.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's not going to hurt which order you play it. Well, it might hurt a little bit if you play Crisis Core first, but yeah.
However, if you're somebody who's playing Final Fantasy for the first time with the remake, Rebirth might be a little ruined for you. So
sort of. I mean, I don't know. Well, doesn't Crisis Core kind of go over some tidbits of what is going to go on in Rebirth?
They didn't give you away everything. That is true.
Yeah. Like Sephiroth in his transition to madness. It's like they don't show, you told me is that they don't show it all.
They don't.
which is good because I want to see him actually lose his mind. From what I hear,
the way remake story is going, they are putting a lot more detail into the story. So
I just don't. I want to know what happens in part 2 because the history is uncharted now because they just. You know what they did at the end of it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get the Final Fantasy VII remake. We're gonna do a proper full video dissecting Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah, I can't wait to do that one honestly because I need to play through it again to get some refreshers.
I'm gonna play through it again. I'm gonna definitely play through it again right around before Rebirth comes out, so it's fresh in my brain.
Yeah, so you don't have to, play it early on and then just wait and wait.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely wait until because Rebirth's supposed to be coming out winter of 2023, so basically a year from where we are now.
So a 3-year development cycle, not bad, I'd say, for another game from Square Enix.
But in between that, we have Final Fantasy 16. So
that's true, which does look pretty fucking badass.
It does, but that being said,
there's one last game. I think there's probably another one that's like a mobile game for Final Fantasy VII. It's like it's before Crisis or something like that. That explains how the plate drops in Sector 6, but they changed the lore in the remake apparently as to how that happened. I was like, what? But there's one more. Dirge of Cerberus. I don't know when that's going to be remastered. It's gonna be. It has to be. If it's part of the whole Final Fantasy VII universe where everything will connect into part 2 and 3, they've got to do it.
The thing about Dirge of Cerberus, it takes place after Final Fantasy VII.
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. They might do it after part 3?
I'm thinking they're going to do it around the time part 3 is coming out.
Hell, they should just release the remaster a month or two after part 3.
Because if it's going to be about Vincent, because Dirge of Cerberus is about Vincent Valentine, and my guess is he's going to have a decent sized role in part 3 now, because I don't think he's going to be an optional character anymore.
No, it doesn't seem like any of the party members are going to be optional. I mean, look at Yuffie. She's definitely going to probably more than likely be a permanent member.
Yeah, because we'll talk about that when we get the Final Fantasy VII remake. Anything else you want to add, Mr. Alex?
I don't know. I just wish the game wasn't so sad at the end.
If you haven't played it before, you should.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of spoiled you what happens, but it hurts more to see it unfold rather than us just explaining it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'll just say at the very end of the battle, you're just like so close to winning, and you can't do it.
I'm going to go ahead and call this now because I got to start getting ready for work. So,
yay.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Take care.
Later.